It's time for Real Estate Talk with host Willie Lambright, the only show in Dallas that covers every subject surrounding real estate, from agents to contractors, mortgage companies to pets care providers. If you own a home or have a goal to buy one, this is the show for you to learn the basics. Let's welcome Willie Lambright and his Real Estate Talk experts.
Welcome all this Saturday night to Real Estate Talk. I'm your host, Willie Lambright, and I say it all the time. Real estate changes people's lives to the good. This hour is brought to you by Century 21 Mike Bowman, Inc., the official real estate company for our Dallas Mavericks. First thing tonight, first order of business, I want to welcome to the studio Mike Bowman, Diane Vanderwill, and our special guest, Therrell Williams, and he is the owner and president, the big kahuna of Floors Partners in Design and Floors to Go. So it's a mouthful. Bottom line, Mike, we're going to talk a little flooring this Saturday night.
We are. You know, whether you're remodeling or a new home or whatever, you know, the carpets or flooring wears out. And Therrell, it's got a really great company. In fact, I've already talked to him about the little lake cabin I have out in Tyler that I wanted to maybe have him redo some of my flooring out there, and he's already agreed to do that, even though it's in Tyler, Texas, you know. But, you know, it's really important, and I know there's a lot of changes, design changes and fabric changes, and you were talking about some tile earlier that looked kind of like wood floor. Tell us a little bit about that. Is that something new?
Well, new is a relative term. About 4 years ago, and really probably a little bit longer than that, the tile began to emulate hardwood floors because so many transactions were being made in engineered and nailed down sand finish hardwood floors. And the tile industry decided we need to capture some of that business. And so they began to create a big variety of those products that are similar to wood, have textures similar to wood, whether it be hand scraped, wire brush finish, widths and lengths, all variable, of course, depending on manufacturer. And that began to really take off kind of like a rocket ship. Mm-hmm. And now there are a lot of manufacturers making these things, and you'll see them in your big box stores and your specialty retailer stores like ourselves. It's a very, very innovative product, just to give a different look than your normal types of tiles or stones.
Well, you know, Therrell, when I went into real estate, this was in '69, okay, a long time ago, and we had something called shag carpet. Oh, and when you would go into the house, I mean, it might have orange, green, brown, all in the different colors. And when you walked across the floor, you know, of course, you could see where you walked. So it was kind of unbelievable, you know. And in fact, I'll tell you a story. One of the first homes I showed had shag carpet and had orange walls. And I knew these people weren't going to like this, okay? So when we went in there, I said, oh, my gosh, I'll have the seller, you know, change out, especially the colors on the walls. They said, Mr. Bowman, we love it. We love it. So I learned real quick, you know, that let the people discover the house.
Yeah, don't beauty's in the eye of the beholder, huh?
Exactly right. But anyway, I know that's shag carpet was a big thing, you know, and so tell us about. Let me ask you this: do you ever have stone floors?
Oh, absolutely.
You do?
Yeah. I mean, stone, really, if you think about it, is timeless. All the way back to the Romans and the Greeks. I mean, everything they were making practically was carved, chiseled, polished out of stone by hand, literally. Mm-hmm. And so that's a very interesting concept that you brought up, because when my wife and I, we were struggling over what we were going to do in one of our bathrooms when we did a remodel, we looked around at all the styles and things that are fashionable and popular. And I had this epiphany, and I said, you know what? When you look back over time, stone is a little more timeless. Now, colors are different. I mean, because we went through an era where we did a lot of green marble stone and so forth. A lot of people want to pull that out. But other colors of stone have remained sort of timeless colors. and like Cream Marfield, which is a light creamy beige color, and Empadora Dark or Empadora Light, which are a chocolate and a light. In those, and there's many white colors, but I'm just saying Stone has been sort of a timeless look that's just run steady when everybody else is out there doing fashionable statements, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I know that this lake cabin I just bought, my wife loves it because it has stone. It's kind of a cream stone in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And then we have a little patio, and the patio's all stone. And so it was like she just loves it. And actually, it's really the first house I'd seen where I really, liked it. The colors blended in really well, and like you say, it's timeless. Okay, mm-hmm. You don't have to worry about replacing that because it's going to be there for a long time.
Yeah,
but it matched everything really well. And so you do the design also. I mean, if someone calls you to their home and they want to change out some things, do you actually design it yourself?
Yes, all the above. We do, and we'll give them any kind of help they need. We have available to us licensed designers. Style or design sometimes is of the heart. I have found a lot of women, a lot of talented men have this talent to put colors and things and schemes together without going through the rigorous, collegiate study. I can say this because my daughter is a licensed interior designer, and she went to TCU, and she taught me a lot, and I taught her a lot. But the important thing is that yes, we have those types of people available to us at Floors to Go. But we're pretty creative in helping people. We have a lot of displays to help people be able to see things down on the floor.
Well, you know how my wife and I do it, because we've had several houses over the years. I just say, honey, whatever you want. Okay, you just tell them what color you want. You pick out the carpet, and it's worked perfectly for me. Okay, there's no problem. And if I even give an inkling I don't like it, I'm in trouble. So I just smile the whole time.
Well, let me just say this. Now I know you're a very intelligent man.
Yeah. You're supposed to go, Mike. That was a heck of an idea, honey. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
hey, let me do this. I want to make sure everybody knows how to get out to Floors to Go. Their phone number is 817-710-7030. Again, 817-710-7030. You can go to floorstogotexas.com. Specialty store, huh?
Yes, sir.
Can you compete with the box stores in terms of prices?
Absolutely. If somebody brings in their products, we can take a look at them, especially on carpeting, and take a look at them and see what they are. Generally speaking, 90% of the time we're able to be competitive with them, meet or even beat their products.
Yeah.
And we're not afraid of those guys.
Yeah. You're not afraid of those guys. I'm not afraid of those guys either. I'll tell you, the thing, I have some houses that we rehab. And the thing that I like about your company is you're dealing with somebody that what I call has a give us stuff button on them about the client, and really gets into detail in making sure that the match of what that client's thinking and the product fit well in a particular home. Again, I want you to go out to Floors to Go, Texas.com, 817-710-7030. You're about to say something.
Well, I just want to say, what you're saying is right. And a couple of things along that attitude is, and this is a story really for all my fellow competitors. We try to fit the product to the people's needs.
Yeah.
The number one complaint of a flooring gone bad in the entire Metroplex, I can say this in the Metroplex, and this is almost nationwide, the number one complaint is when a factory rep goes to a job and they see what's going on, they say the wrong product was sold to that individual. And it's because of people not understanding and not asking enough questions. What are your needs?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they had 3 dogs, 2 cats, and 7 kids.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to need something a little tougher than Mr. and Mrs. Jones, who are retired.
I understand. I got to go to break here, okay? And are you having a good time on the show here this Saturday night?
Thank you very much.
You're a very good spokesperson. I got to tell you, I have a little thing brewing up here in the top of my head. But when we come back, you guys also do commercial stuff, right?
Yes, sir.
I want to elaborate a little bit more, with your permission, Mike, a little bit more about how the wrong products sold. And if you are listening right now and can relate to that, maybe we'll get a guy that's been around a long time, knows what he's talking about, to give us some solutions. Can we do that when we come back?
Absolutely.
Yeah, my buddy, Mr. Therrell Williams. You can reach out to him, 817-710-7030. What about a dirt floor, man? Is that ever going to come into style? I don't think so. I got to go to break. We'll be back in a Willie Scotch. Welcome back to Real Estate Talk this Saturday night. First off, I want to thank you, our listener, for joining us. And I'll tell you, when you leave this program, you'll be more informed about the do's and don'ts of the flooring and carpet business than you can ever shake a stick at. If you're just joining us, live in the studio is our friends, Floors to Go. You can reach out to them at 817-710-7030. And I think, Therrell, you told me you would match any box store out there. I don't know. I'm just a host here, right? But that's pretty good given the amount of experience and advice you have to give somebody. You get a real sense when you go to Floors to Go that you mean something as a client, and the people there care about what happens to you in your home. Now, that being said, I've said this before, some of the best radio ever comes during the break, and my listener doesn't get to listen to it, right? And so, Diane, I am insistent of you asking that question that you asked during the break, and let our listeners hear that.
Okay, Therrell, I wanted to know, I was looking at tile and stone, and this is kind of back to the stone, and I see tile that looks like stone. Now, what are the advantages one over the other, and what are the price differences, and how can I tell?
Well, to be able to tell the difference between a stone and a tile, really all you need to do is turn it over. And on the back side, generally, the stone is going to look very similar to whatever is on the face, unless it's polished or has some kind of special treatment on the face. But you'll be able to see a rougher piece on the back, and it'll be relatively smooth. If you flip over a tile that looks like it's a tile with a real high quality image of a stone, you flip it over, it's probably going to have some kind of a grid system on the back of it, which is not typically of a stone characteristic. It means it's made to be able to grab setting material and so forth.
Now, will I be able to tell once it's laid?
More than likely, sometimes you can't. To the untrained eye, you won't be able to tell the difference, because the high quality is with as we were saying at the break, our lives have changed over all these HD photography and lenses that we have today, and the manufacturers have done such a good job of photographing a lot of real natural stone and putting it digitally, printing it on top of a porcelain tile or a ceramic tile. They look extremely well, and we have a lot of people not be able to know the difference between the two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Well, is it less expensive than to get the tile? And
Good question. The tile, generally speaking, when the manufacturer gets cranked up and they're able to produce this, they actually can produce it for less money than the real stone. Now, to give you an example of this, stone, depending on which stone it is, it has to be at different thicknesses. For example, marble has to be cut a little thicker than granite does, because marble is a little more fragile, has more fissures in it. And so, and because of that, sometimes porcelain tiles can be made about the same thickness or thinner. And so the thickness and thinness of a tile, or I should say the viscosity, the thickness of a tile or a porcelain tile doesn't really matter about how hard it is necessarily compared to a real stone. But a real stone, depending on what it is, requires some kind of ongoing maintenance. That's where you kind of separate, the good from the bad and the ugly, is that the man-made products generally have almost no maintenance to them at all. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But like, I've got a beautiful marble in my house. It's called a vein cut marble, and it'd break my heart to tear it up, but I have to have it refinished about every 5 to 6 years. I've lived there 20 years, and I've had it finished about 4 times.
Oh.
And so when you're buying a stone, my company should ask you enough questions to find out how are you going to use this. Your maintenance is only based on what kind of stone it is. Granite requires very little maintenance. You polish it, it's really hard, and it holds its finish. But a marble is a soft stone, so it requires more finish. Mm-hmm. So we in the flooring business should be able to explain this to you. And this is what a specialty store can do over a big box store because of training.
Wow.
Well, one of the things that you were talking about earlier is the fact that, when you go with that homeowner, you can kind of help them. They may want to pick out like a ceramic tile or something, and that may not fit. Just like if it's in the kitchen or something like that, where they may be dropping things, you would recommend something else, right?
Right. When you come into our store, we're going to try to find out where in the house you're going to put this tile. And if you tell us you're going to put it in the kitchen, we are going to recommend you buy a porcelain tile over a ceramic tile. And I know those two words are interchangeably used, and we still interchangeably use them in our industry until we get down to what we call brass tacks. The kitchen, you want your hardest tile possible because in the kitchen, when you're drying dishes, loading the dishwasher, you're going to drop your cookware. And if you drop your cookware on a ceramic tile, you're going to chip the top of it off. Mm-hmm. The porcelain tile is much harder, and you're not going to be able to chip it. It's going to have to be extremely severe in order for you to chip a porcelain tile or to even crack or break it.
Well, and it's important to you and I because we have to do the dishes, right?
Absolutely. That's how I learned.
I think I have ceramic tile because I've got little chips in mine. So that's what I need to fix.
That's why it's important to have someone like Thurl
that knows, right?
To come or his crew because, they know the products really well. And, if you want to put something somewhere that maybe is not usable or, it's going to break or whatever, then you're going to inform that customer about it,
Now, I know some people are listening and thinking, if I could explain the difference between a porcelain tile and a ceramic tile.
Please do.
Because believe it or not, for a number of years, there were a lot of people in the flooring business that sold tile to all the carpet dealers who took tile on years and years ago, didn't really understand the difference between the two. If you'll think of a red clay terracotta pot, everybody's had a red clay terracotta pot.
Yes, they have.
And if you set it down too hard, you crack it and break it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. It's made out of red clay. If you take a tile and you turn it over on the back and it looks red, like a red clay terracotta pot, it's probably made out of clay, which would be a ceramic tile. If you turn it over and it's brown, they do have brown body porcelains. Brown and red are two different colors. And then they also have white body porcelains. They make something called through body porcelains, but we won't go there just yet. But for the most part, you'll be able to spot a porcelain tile from a ceramic tile. Now, the box and the packaging should say that, and the salesperson should know the difference between what they're selling.
Huh. Yeah, should know.
And you should be able to ask the question as a consumer, is this a ceramic or is this a porcelain? Now, let me try not to persuade everybody too much. If you're going outside of the kitchen, you can use a ceramic tile anywhere you want. I mean, because you're not dropping these heavy objects. But today, with open floor plans and so forth, people are wanting to use the same in the kitchen as they do in the adjacent living area and so forth. Well, then it's still a concern to be the same. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you this. If you're building a house, say, with a builder, would it be important to get someone like you to come out and kind of go through before the flooring is laid to help that consumer to make sure that they get what they want?
As a part of the process, it would behoove the homeowner to come and just let us educate them on what things are out there and what things are available. The worst thing you can do, we've all done it. We've all bought a product and then we've been just a little dissatisfied with it. And then you find out, there was another product that did something a little bit better, and you go, my gosh, if I'd have just known that, I would have been happy to buy that product instead of the one I got. I mean, we're all consumers. I've done the very same thing. And so to me, you only achieve that through education, and that's our philosophy at
Knowledge
Floors
is
to
power.
Go. Is we try to educate people of what is it they're buying.
Exactly. Diane, did you have a question?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to help you out here. You know, we talked about this great company, Floors to Go. They do commercial, and we're going to talk about countertops and things before the end of this program. Thurl, I think you're absolutely right and that's what this show is all about. Knowledge empowers people to make wise decisions in their life. And the truth be known is that's a very, very sensitive process you're going through if indeed you're picking out tile for your home, whatever the case may be. And at the end of the day, most salespeople are commission driven, and it's about making the sale and feeding their family. I get it. I get all that, right? But here at Real Estate Talk and at Century 21 Mike Bowman, it's about building a customer for life. And we want our folks to stay and learn each Saturday night as we bring this great show to you. So here's what's going to happen. We're at the halfway point. I want you to stay with me as we come to the top of the hour. More with my buddies over at Floors to Go. By the way, you can reach out to them at 817-710-7030. Again, 817-710-7030. Floors to Go, Texas.com. I don't know why you wouldn't do that if you're out in the market for flooring, carpeting, you name it. Get a guy that's been there, done that. He gives you some free advice. Stick around. I'll be back in a Willie Scotia.
Now let's get back to Real Estate Talk with your host, Willie Lambright.
Welcome back to Real Estate Talk. We're at the bottom of the hour, and we're going to be around 30 more minutes in this long-form program. This hour is brought to you by Century 21, Mike Bowman Inc., the official real estate company for our Dallas Mavericks. And I got to tell you, friend, during the break, Mike Bowman and his agents are at the top of their game, and because they have good folks around them. Now, live in the studio is Floors to Go. And I got to tell you, Thurl Williams forgot more than I'll ever know, or Mike will ever know, right?
For sure.
Yeah, about flooring. We're going to talk a little story that if you're listening right now, at the end of this story, if you can't relate to where you need to go, if you're in the market for floors, carpeting, countertops, you name it, Floors to Go is where we choose here at Real Estate Talk. 817-710-7030. Diane, ask that question.
About laying a floor.
Yeah.
I've heard that usually it's just thin set that we use. Now, is that proper, or is that...
Diane, in certain cases, thin set is a product that is used to lay under certain tiles. Let me cut to the chase. A lot of people buy materials from us to do it themselves, and a lot of people have us and do the installation. For all the do-it-yourselfers, you need to really listen to what I'm about to tell you, because when you begin to install tile, there's a tile council in North America that writes best practices methods, and it's like the Bible of laying tile, how to lay tile, floors and walls and water prep. And in there, they say that any tile that is larger than 15 inches on just one side, so this would mean like a tile plank that looks like wood. Maybe it's 6 inches on one side, but it's 24, 36, or 48 inches on the other side. Those are heavy tiles. And what people don't understand, and a lot of installation men who have been in the business for 15 and 20 years do not understand what I'm about to tell you. They don't understand that these tiles are heavier. When they get bigger, they get heavier. So a thin set was a great product coming out of the 50s and 60s when we set tile a totally different way. But today, with bigger formatted tile, you have to have something called a medium bed setting material. And this medium bed setting material is, I tell all the ladies like this because this makes really great sense, it's the difference between a thin, runny icing when you're trying to sculpt icing on a cake or a thick icing that you can sculpt on a cake and it stays put. Well, this setting material has a different viscosity to it, and when they use the proper notch trowel as recommended, the notches on the trowel and the weight of the tile all stay even and flat. And a lot of people, you'll notice this when you use thin set on a 18 by 18 tile, the next day you'll have what we call lippage at the corners. One tile is slightly lower than the other. Well, you don't have a bad tile installer because he installed it flat. It said it fell down overnight. Mm-hmm. And more than likely, he doesn't even know why that happened. And it occurred because the wrong setting material was used. And so it's important that you use the right setting materials. Because back to our ceramic tile and our porcelain tile deal, I can tell everybody this illustration all the time. If you hire your own installer, he's going to go to the big box stores, and there's two kinds of setting material there. There's a $5 bag and a $15 bag.
He's going to buy the $5 bag.
Okay. Yeah. Well, your porcelain tile, this is kind of a bonus, Willie. Your porcelain tile, if you set your porcelain tile that you paid a lot of money for down with the $5 setting material,
you don't have lippage.
Well, number one, you're going to have lippage, but number two, it'll work long enough for him to get his paycheck and get out of there. And the first time in Texas it gets down below 20 degrees, that tile is coming up off the floor because the concrete slab is shrinking, and that setting material will not hold it and not bond it.
Yep. Yep.
And it's got to have this thicker viscosity. It's got to be modified in order for it to hold, because porcelain tile does not absorb water very much at all. That's why you can put it outside. A ceramic tile will absorb more moisture, and that's why it'll stick better with a cheaper setting material. But the cheaper setting material cannot bond well to the porcelain tile. So you got a lot of things going on here, but it's really simple that if you just get the right company to teach you what to get. I don't care if people come and buy the material from us and want to do it themselves. I understand saving money. I got a budget just like everybody else does. Just let us teach you what to get and let you make the informed decision.
I think that's so wise to say that, Thurl, because your company, when someone goes as opposed to a box store or some of these other places I've been in, you're absolutely right. The mindset of the fabricator that's putting the tile down is, man, it looks good now. Let's write that check. You get on down the road, and the right freeze comes along, and this is so. Building a customer for life is what you guys are all about, and you will indeed give good advice when they buy the product from you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Our friends over at Floors to Go, you can reach out on the World Wide Web, floors2gotexas.com, or call them at 817-710-7030. Again, 817-710-7030.
Thurl, I think I read somewhere on your website about education and how you do continuing education in your store. Tell us about that.
Well, unfortunately, unlike the real estate business, where your agents have to have continuing education, I decided that, you know what, if I'm going to keep up with things, I'm going to make my own continuing education. And so I hate for my competitors to hear what I'm saying. They're probably asleep right now.
Yeah, they probably are.
But for the consumers,
they got their check. They're running.
But for our consumers, what we try to do, this is what we do. Every Wednesday, we have a 2-hour educational meeting. And 1 hour of that is by a third-party outside vendor who we're representing their products, or they're trying to get products into our building. And they teach us about their products. They tell us not just how pretty it looks and how well it styles and all this, but if it's a product that requires other things like separate adhesives, which could be wood with adhesives or ceramic tile with setting materials or still a type of adhesive, we try to learn what all these features and benefits are. And by doing so, we feel like that we have our customers' best interest in mind. Can I give you an example of that?
Sure, please do. I like talking with you.
Well, here's what's interesting. There's a company out there, Mapei Industries. They have, I don't know that they were exactly the first one. It may have been Custom Blend, who makes a lot of setting materials, invented a new grout. Now, grouts are not necessarily new, but this one is this new line of grouts that are coming out are extremely new. And they make a product that it's as close to epoxy for residential purposes as possible, because I've done a lot of commercial jobs where you have to have epoxy grout in say like a milk factory.
Mm-hmm.
They've been there, done that. But this is an epoxy that goes on. It's ready to mix. I mean, it's ready mixed in a bucket. You take it out, you spread it on the floor. Well, if you do it like you normally do it, you will ruin your floor. Mm-hmm. You have to, guess what? Read the directions.
Yeah.
You can only grout a 5x5 area and then clean it up and then go grout the next 5x5 area. You don't waste time mixing up the grout. You don't waste any time cleaning because you're doing the same amount of cleaning. But we had a lady, she brought in photographs of 1,500 square feet of her tile that was totally ruined. She bought it somewhere else. She showed us these photographs. She told us what happened. And her husband and the installer says, we got this grout thing down. We know what it is. She absolutely ruined a beautiful 18 by 36 inch tile. And she has this haze on there that now the manufacturer doesn't even know how to get off because they didn't do it according to the manufacturer's specification. And we got dealers out there selling these things without giving people the proper education. And I think it's a real shame because now her floor looks really cloudy and it's not supposed to look that way. So
I see you, Diane. You got another question, but I got to go to break.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. By the way, Diane, this is a fantastic show you put together today. It's very informative, and I want to thank you for that. Our friends over at Floors to Go is where we recommend that you either buy carpet, tile, cabinet, the countertops. We have all that over there. And as you can probably tell, if you stuck around this show, these folks are very informative on how to do things right. When we come back, Diane's got another question. We'll talk about as much as we can about some of the new products that are coming out. But more importantly, write this number down, 817-710-7030. You'll be glad you did, and I'll be back in a Willie Skosh.
Now let's get back to Real Estate Talk with your host, Willie Lambright.
Welcome back to Real Estate Talk. Man, I forgot to tell you that if you're in the market for flooring, and whatever the case may be, and you reach out to Thurl Williams at 817-710-7030, and you say you heard it on the Mike Bowman Hour of Real Estate Talk, they're going to give you a 10% discount. Remember, 10% adds up quickly. Diane, we got a quick question from you.
Yeah, it might not be all that quick, but anyway, I wanted to know, I know that Thurl just got back from Las Vegas for a flooring show, and so I wanted to know, is wood still the biggest seller these days, or what's some of the new things? I've heard of cork-oleum. And
Cork-what?
Cork-oleum.
Cork-oleum.
Well, cork has been big for a while,
right.
too.
Actually, we probably had the biggest display of cork floor of anybody in Tarrant County. I've got a whole little track at our office with it down there right now. However, the cork industry is kind of getting squeezed. Cork is a beautiful high-end styled product. It has a lot of features and benefits. It's soft. It is durable. But and they're beginning to use cork in a lot of other things. They're actually putting some veneers on top. They're actually putting some wood image veneers on top of cork. It's kind of a long process and story. Okay. But U.S. Floors is a very large company that recently got purchased by Shaw Industries, Inc., and they handle a lot of cork and bamboo and type product floors. But generally, engineered hardwood floors are still a big seller right now in our industry. And the tile is still, the wood tile planks are still being emulated in the ceramic porcelain tile industry to look like wood. Because, like I said, I just picked up some from the market because of the different looks and pricing. People are all about budgets, and we try to have some good things that are budget minded. Did I answer your question?
I think so. Did you see anything that was really different coming out?
Well, with some of the stylings and patterns of porcelain tiles, there are a lot of what I'd call deco printed tiles, meaning, you know what mosaics are. Mm-hmm. They're little bitty tiny stones or cut stones pieces, if you will. And then on a larger scale, they are starting to do randomly inkjet printed some like 6x6s or 12x12s of detailed little patterns. And this is going to be a terrible word for me to use, but it's like a snowflake design, and they're contrasting colors. They're sort of done in grayscales. And arabesque backsplash patterns are like very popular these days. I don't know if you know what an arabesque is. It's for the guys. It's kind of think of an hourglass put together, except it's disconnected, if you will. But it looks the same on the top as on the bottom.
You learn something every day.
That's an arabesque type pattern. Those are really popular. But yes, I mean we're starting to see tiles made out of concrete for wall texture surfaces, which are very different. We're seeing a lot of three-dimensional tiles come on the market for wall surfaces, if you will. And because as we were talking before we went on the air this morning, the reclaimed wood, there's a lot of reclaimed looking wood and brand new wood for people to do decor and put on the walls. As a matter of fact, we have a display coming with three-dimensional looking wood that you can put on the wall for accent walls. People have been painting an accent wall. Yeah. We're putting stacked stone as an accent wall. Well, now we can put some three-dimensional wood in different colors on a wall for accent, which I think that's pretty creative.
Mm-hmm, that is. I think I've seen some little pictures of that, and I like it a lot. Well, back to the wood. What are the different kinds of wood floors, and what would you recommend?
Well, basically wood, I kind of have to divide wood into two categories real quickly. One is nailed down sanded finish, and the other is engineered. A site nailed down sanded finish is simply a wood that they actually, generally speaking, gets pre-installed in a house when it's built, and they'll nail down 3/4 inch plywood and then nail down 3/4 inch solid on top of that. Let it stay, acclimate process, sand and finish, hand scrape it, custom. A pre-engineered, pre-finished is just that. It's pre-finished color coming out of the box. Think of it as a plywood with a high-quality plywood on the back and a veneer on top, and all the veneers are different thicknesses, and the veneers are created differently because you have sawn-faced, slice-cut, and rotary peel like you would peel off a roll of paper towels, and the grainings are all different because of that. And that is a big part of the industry still today, the engineered floors.
So I want to thank you for that information. I've got to go to the top of the hour, Therrell. Guys, I want to thank, let me just say this. Therrell, you are a book of knowledge when it comes to the flooring industry. And we want to know here, me and Diane and Mike, if you'll come back as a repeat offender to Real Estate Talk.
Absolutely. If you'll have me back, I'll be happy to.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I feel honored.
Man, one of the smartest guys I know in this business. And I want you to write this down. FloorsToGoTexas.com, 817-710-7030. Again, 817-710-7030. Tell him you heard it here on Real Estate Talk. You can get a 10% discount. He said he's coming back. We know all about his great company. Go. I want to thank C21 Mike Bowman, which is, by the way, the official real estate company for our Dallas Mavericks. And I'm going to close out by saying, at the end of the day, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care about them. You think about that, and that's why real estate is the greatest industry we know of. I'm your host, Willie Lambright, signing off for another edition of Real Estate Talk. That's a wrap, and we are out.